worst torture methods of all time. The worst punishments in human history. Let's take a look at this, man. It can't be that bad.
Finger removal.
Holy shit. Wow. Let's take a look at this, chap. It cannot be that bad. Let's be honest.
Wasserta says, I be jorkin mappiness to your videos.
Yo, what? Yakuza finger removal.
Also known as yubitsum. It's a ritual done to gain forgiveness after a member committed an offense to someone else in his group.
Chat, be honest, are you surviving
portions of one's own
all of these torture methods
to show sincere apology and remorse to the other? I've put this one as the least painful.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad.
Usually
I don't think that's that bad.
Lifelong lasting pain, and it isn't deadly, unlike the brutal ones further down the list.
Thanks, brother. I'm chilling.
Bastinado consists of beating the victim with a light rod, knotted cord, or lash, exclusively on the feet. Unlike most types of flogging, it is meant more to be painful than to cause actual injury. Even though if done too harshly or for too long, it might cause the victim to not be able to walk anymore. This one is also not deadly. Pitch capping.
Wait. At the end of the day, that one's not even that bad if you just keep beating the foot. Because like eventually it's going to be numb and you won't even feel it.
Pitch capping involves pouring hot pitch or tar into a conical paper cap and forcing it onto the victim's head.
Yo, who even thinks of this shit?
And the cap was ripped off, removing skin and tissue.
That's honestly like, who thinks of this shit?
It wasn't usually done with the intention of killing, but deadly infections after this weren't that uncommon. Elephant's foot. This punishment, also known as Gunga Rao, was mostly used in Asia, specifically India, and it consisted of killing the victim by crushing him with an elephant. There were two variations of this. If the victim was lucky, his head would be placed on a pedestal, and the elephant would crush it.
If they were lucky. Oh, instant death. Oh, okay.
Instantly killing him. Okay, this wasn't that painful because the victim would die instantly, but the second variation wasn't as forgiving. Some royal members wanted to sit down and enjoy a long show, so they ordered the elephant riders to train the elephants to walk over non-vital parts first, such as the legs and arms. The person would get crushed over and over before the elephant actually walked over his head and killed him. Puina Cully. In ancient
chat, anyone who violates terms and services in Twitch chat is getting the elephant's foot. So you better be on your best behavior.
Rome, those who would kill their own father were subjected to puina culli. It was a death penalty that consisted of being sewn up in a leather sack with a mix of live animals, including a dog, snake, monkey, and a chicken, and then being thrown into water. Roman decimation. In ancient Rome, when military units or a large group were guilty of capital offenses, such as cowardice, mutiny, or desertion, they went through the process of decimation.
Oh, so you're just getting beat to death.
Roughly 480 soldiers that needed to be punished was divided into groups of 10, and each group drew lots randomly. The soldier
says, "What is this f***ing translucent trash bag you are wearing? I can see your skin, and it's so
no,
yellow."
You can't. I literally have this. It's not a translucent trash bag. For f***'s sake, remove it.
Who picked the shortest straw had to be killed by his 9 friends, often by stoning, clubbing, or stabbing, while the 9 surviving ones had to stay outside the fortified security of the camp for some time. Since the killed victim was chosen randomly, all soldiers in the group were potentially liable for execution, regardless of how guilty they were.
What?
Blowing from a gun. Blowing from a gun is a method of execution in which the victim is typically—
Oh shit! It's a cannon card chat, W Clash Royale reference.
Tied to the mouth of a cannon, which is then fired,
I take that back.
Resulting in instant death. A description of what happens was given by an English soldier in the 19th century, and he said that the victim's head goes straight up into the air for about 40 or 50 feet. The arms fly off right and left, high up in the air, and fall at around 100 yards distance, while the legs drop to the ground beneath the muzzle of the gun. It's this low on the list because the victim probably doesn't feel a thing, as his death is instant.
What do you mean?
Basil II's blind journey. Byzantine Emperor Basil II reportedly captured 15,000 Bulgarians during the Battle of Kleiden, so he decided to use them as a message to their homeland. He divided the prisoners into groups of 100, and then he had 99 out of every 100 blinded, with the 100th man being blinded in only one eye, so that he could still lead the other 99 back home. Bulgarian Tsar Samuel died of a heart attack on
2050 Mr. Beast challenge. I can see
October 6, 1014, reportedly due to seeing his soldiers blinded. Castor oil
poop barrels. Disgusting. Jesus
Making
Christ.
someone drink a lot of castor oil caused stomach pain.
Yeah, this might be the worst one, I can't lie.
They could no longer hold their
physical
poop together.
Pain's better
they would
than
then
this.
put the person in a big human-sized barrel and remove them when the person confessed. This could even go as far as leaving the person to drown in their own body fluids inside the barrel.
No, Kiwi, I saw you, bro. I saw you.
Immurement.
I look, you just had to dip right then and there, so I just dipped.
Execution method and as a lifelong imprisonment method. It consisted of putting someone in an enclosed space and really tight space, such as behind a wall, for the rest of his life. If it was used as an execution method, the person would be left to starve to death, while if it was used as imprisonment, they would regularly give the victim food. Rack.
That's not that bad. That's not
person
even that
would be
bad.
forced to lay on a rectangle-shaped wooden rack that stretched the victim's body by pulling the arms and legs in opposite directions.
Oh.
It caused incredible pain and could lead to dislocated limbs and
That's pretty
torn
fucked up,
ligaments.
chap.
It was mainly
I
used
would
as
not
a
like that
method
to
to
happen
get
to me.
information,
That's all I'm
but
gonna
it could
say.
also be used to tear the victim's limbs out and leave him bleeding to death. Tarring and feathering. Tarring and feathering is a
This one
form of
doesn't sound that
public
bad.
torture where a victim is stripped naked or stripped to the waist,
that's not that
while
bad.
wood tar, sometimes hot, is either
Oh, shit,
poured
never
or
mind.
painted onto the person. After that, the victim would have feathers
Chap, imagine hot tar on your balls, man. Fuck me. Jesus Christ.
thrown onto him, or he was rolled around on a pile of feathers so that they stuck to the tar. This would not
Who
only
even
cause
thinks of that? Who
extreme
thought of
burns to
this?
the victim's
Why the
skin,
feathers after?
permanently scarring him, but also psychologically humiliate him in public,
I don't
as he
think
was meant to look like a
psychologically
giant
humiliate
chicken walking around the street.
Is the least of his
Choke
concerns,
pear.
bro.
It was a
Choke
metal
pear.
tool that was put into someone's mouth or booty hole and then made bigger on purpose. The tool would stretch the tissue to the point of no return. Aztecs' live heart removal. When the Aztecs sacrificed people to Huitzilopochtli, the sun god, the victim would
Aztecs
be
live
placed on a
heart removal. Oh,
sacrificial
that sounds
stone,
fucking
and the
normal.
priest would then cut through the abdomen with an
Holy
obsidian
fucking
flint
shit.
blade. The heart would be torn out, still beating, and held towards the sky in honor of the sun god. Heretic's fork.
Anyone who makes a simple mistake in chat is getting the Aztec heart removal. Shaq, make sure that happens. We're not fucking around today.
It's a collar with two sets
Heretic's
of metal
fork.
forks
Okay,
at
not
each
bad.
end. One set was placed under the
Oh,
chin and
shit!
the other at the sternum, and the device was secured around the neck. This forced the victim to keep their head raised, leading to severe discomfort and sleep deprivation. The person would be asked questions or just be left there, while the fork slowly pierced through their neck
wanna
and
say
jaw,
something, but I don't
and this
think I can say
lasted
it.
until the victim could no longer
So you
hold their
literally
head
just
raised,
can't-
causing the fork to
Oh,
pierce
hell
through.
no.
Rat's cup.
It was
A
good.
method
3K
attributed
spam.
to the Roman Emperor Nero involved tying a cup filled with hungry rats to the victim's
Oh, yeah, no,
stomach
I've seen
and
this
then
before.
applying heat to the bottom,
is fucking
forcing the
disgusting, man.
rats to burrow through the victim's
This is
body to
actually
escape.
disgusting.
In
Oh!
some parts of South America, they used a variation of this method called the rectoscope, which consisted of inserting living
guys
rats
still
into
think,
a victim's rectum through a tube,
guys still think they
forcing
do
them
these-
to make their way
Oh!
through the victim's body to get out. Catherine's wheel. An execution method where the victim's limbs were tied to a large wheel and then struck with a hammer or iron bar, breaking their bones in multiple places.
that's kinda
The
just
wheel
like
was placed
stretching
on
out. It's
display
about the
later
same
on,
as
often
a-
leaving the victim to starve. Boiling alive.
Okay,
The
this is
victim
pretty
would be lowered
straightforward.
into a large container with
like
a
a hot
boiling
tub?
liquid, such as oil, gradually and slowly. The first
Okay.
exposed parts would be the extremities, such as fingers and toes, which have lots of nerve endings and cause incredible pain.
Yeah.
Then the skin, muscles, and fat softened
Jesus
and
Christ.
liquefied due to the heat, while
Yeah.
internal organs and the
Can I
flesh
get
got
tortured like
boiled
that?
from
Yo,
the
why are you
outside,
asking for it?
making this a
is
slow
horrible.
and agonizing process. In another variation,
surviving, though.
which
I'm
is thought to
surviving.
be
I'll be
even
honest.
more painful and long, the victim would be
Boiling
lowered
alive, I'm
into a
surviving this
normal
one.
temperature liquid,
I'm surviving
which
this
would be
one.
gradually heated until it started boiling.
Yeah, I'm surviving this
Keel
one.
hauling. Keel hauling
Keel
was a
hauling.
severe maritime punishment where a sailor
it's on
was
the
tied
sea.
to a rope and dragged underwater from one side of the ship to the other, passing under the ship's keel. If the person did not drown or get vital damage from the rusty and sharp wooden body of the ship itself, they would just do it again until the person was no longer alive.
Oh,
It was
that's not even they just fucking killed him. They just fucking killed him. That's the whole point. I'm not surviving that, I'll
feared
be
for
honest.
its brutality. Sawing. When
Yo,
used
Shaq,
as an
that shit is
execution
not
method,
happening again, I
the
can
victim
promise
would
you.
be hanged
Sawing.
upside down to
Oh,
make
they're
the
gonna
blood
saw
flow
it.
to the head, increasing the time the person was conscious. The executioner would then divide the victim vertically into two halves. starting
Divide the victim vertically into two halves. Sounds pretty normal.
from the groin and moving upwards. Hanged, drawn, and quartered. This method
Okay,
was
this
used
sounds
to
pretty
execute
normal.
men
Just
convicted
hang
of high
someone?
treason in medieval and early
Drawn
modern Britain
and
and Ireland,
quartered.
and it consisted of multiple
Why is there
steps.
extra steps
the
to
convicted
hang?
traitor was
Don't they
tied
die
to a
after
wooden
hanging?
board and dragged behind a horse to the execution site. There,
Oh,
he was
wow.
almost hanged to death, then mutilated and had his organs removed.
Yo, what the fuck? I don't know why I'm laughing at this shit, but check. They could have just fucking hung him. They had to do all of this extra shit. Like, drag him to the area with a horse, then mutilate him. Like, you're just edging his death, bro. Just hang him, bro. He's literally already there. You're just wasting material. Just straight up hang him and just get on. You're gonna have so much more time for the rest of the day. You're gonna have to tie a fucking horse on his back and then mutilate him. Like, goddamn. You know how much water that wastes? Try to wash that knife? Like, goddamn. Everything in the medieval was exaggerated, I hope.
Before being beheaded and his body divided into four parts.
What
just
the
in case
fuck
he
is
was
the
still
point of
alive.
that?
These
Oh my
remains
God.
were often displayed in well-known places
Oh,
across
okay.
the country,
Never mind, I
like London
understand.
Bridge, to warn others about
makes
the
sense.
consequences of being a traitor. Glastration. This
Oh.
method wasn't always deadly, but in my opinion, it deserves this spot because of how brutally
for
painful
effort.
it sounds.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah,
It's
to
the
be fair,
method
yeah.
of inserting a glass rod into a man's erect willy and then smashing it with a hammer, causing the glass
This was the worst one of them all. I'm not even joking. The last one wasn't even that bad because you just die. But this one, like, holy shit. This one's so fucking bad. I'm grabbing my dick right now. I'm not even joking. I'm squeezing it. I'm like closing the hole where the pee comes out just to make sure like no invisible entity can do that to me right now. That's fucking disgusting. Just imagine. Chat, picture this.
Glass rod
Goodness
to fragment
gracious.
into multiple small pieces that shattered
Oh my
all
fucking
over
God,
the
it's
inside.
disgusting.
Bamboo through booty hole.
What?
A bamboo would be put inside a person's booty hole, and it would be left there. The bamboo would grow really quickly inside the man, causing incredible pain. It was sometimes left until it exited from the other side.
Nah,
Spanish donkey. This was a sharp-angled wooden device on which the victim was forced to sit, straddling it like a donkey with weights attached to their feet. This would increase pressure and pain on the body, often causing severe injury to the legs and spine until the victim was ripped apart by their body weight. Brazen bull. A metal statue shaped like a real-sized bull was used to lock someone inside and then heated up with fire underneath. The person inside would feel extreme heat and pain while being burned alive, and it was meant to scare others by showing how bad the punishment.
Look, chat, it's a pretty aura way to go out though. Like, imagine like, I just think about it this way. Like, if you're in heaven or hell or wherever you go, and people ask like, "Yo, how did you die?" Like, it's pretty sick to say, "Yo, I got brazen bull," instead of like, "Yo, I got bamboo in booty hole." Like, what the fuck is that?
Could be. There were special pipes to make the victim breathe, which also made the screams hearable for the crowd, resulting in a bull-like sound. The steam would leave from the bull's nose for extra realism. Impalement. The brutal part of impaling, like crucifixion, is that the victim tortured himself. In a famous variant, he was set up high on a stake so that it didn't actually penetrate anything vital, so long as he stayed up on his toes, so he could keep it from going any deeper, so long as he kept his own weight on his feet. When the victim would get tired, he would slip a little further, and when he felt the pain, he would scramble up again on the already aching and exhausted muscles, only to repeat this process out of exhaustion a little later, and so on, until something vital got pierced. Another variant consisted of the Judas chair, a torture device featuring a pyramid-shaped seat where the victim was placed at the top, with ropes used to lower and suspend their body weight onto the sharp apex. The chair would slowly rip the person apart. Flaying. Flaying was a gruesome method where the skin was removed from the body while the victim was still alive. This extreme form of torture was used to cause intense, slow pain and suffering, eventually leading to death through shock or infection. The skin, lacking major blood vessels, did not cause rapid blood loss, so victims could remain conscious and endure prolonged agony. It was often considered a meticulous process, requiring precision and skill from the executioner. And rather than removing the skin in pieces, cultures sought methods to flay the victim more efficiently and completely, sometimes using substances like boiling water to facilitate the process. Blood eagle. This one was a brutal ritual where the victim's ribs were cut from the spine and spread out to resemble wings, while the lungs were pulled through the openings, causing a slow, agonizing death. It's short, but it's one of the most brutal ones, in my opinion.
What the fuck?
Lingqi. Also known as death by 1,000 cuts, it was a famous method used in China to prolong the suffering for as long as possible. There were multiple variations of this method, even though almost all—
Sorry to pause again. Do you guys think any of my great ancestors had to go through this shit? Because, you know, back in, like, the early ancient days, like, it's pretty brutal, man. Do you think any of my great grandparents had to? Yes. Why was there an immediate yes? Of course, yes. Maybe. That's fucked up, man. They're probably in, like, heaven, or maybe hell, I don't know. Looking down at me, I'm just making goddamn YouTube videos.
All of them included cutting the skin deep enough to cause incredible pain,
and now you clip
but not
on
deep
GD,
enough to allow the victim to lose blood. In one variation, the victim was restrained, and an executioner would pull knives out at random, each with a body part on it. Left forearm, right thigh, left foot, neck, etc. Each time he'd pull a knife out, he would make a cut on that body part. This would continue until the executioner pulled out the knife with the heart on it, and that's when he stabbed the victim through the heart. In another variation, they would tie a fishnet tightly around someone's body and cut off the pieces of skin that popped up in the holes of the net. In the most brutal version, they would bury someone up to their neck, make a cross-shaped cut at the crown of the head, peel the skin back, and pour mercury in the wound. The mercury, through its weight, would separate skin from flesh, and as the person struggled to unbury themselves, they would eventually leave their skin behind in the hole. Scaphism. This one is considered by many to be the worst execution method. In this punishment, the condemned person was placed inside a boat or between two boats, lying on their back with their arms and legs protruding through holes. They were force-fed large amounts of milk and honey, which induced severe diarrhea, and their entire body was smeared with the same mixture. This made them attractive to rodents, bugs, wasps, bees, flies, and whatever other animals lived lived near the lake. They would
Oh.
eat and bite at the victim's flesh. And when the next morning arrived, the boat would be
take that
brought
back.
back to the coast, and they would force feed him another gigantic meal of milk and honey, also placing it on him once more. This was done on a daily basis to prolong the punishment for as long as possible. It was reported that the rats would usually try to go into the person's booty hole, and that the method
Yo,
was
every single fucking time it's in the goddamn booty hole.
so
This shit
long
pisses
that
me
it
off.
seemed to have
Why?
no end, with a person
Freaky ass old
surviving
people, I'm telling
17
you.
days.
Every
This
single
person
time.
reportedly had his entire face completely covered with wasps, and his flesh was rotting away,
disgusting.
filled
That's
with swarms
disgusting.
of parasites and
Was that
worms,
ramen?
all while being covered in his own filth. If you want to discuss this video or
Fuck
suggest
me,
an
that's
idea for the
disgusting,
next
boys.
one,
Oh my
join
goodness.
my Discord. Link in the
The worst punishments in history. Jesus. All I'm gonna say is, chat, I think half of them I could definitely survive. Like, I find a genius way to escape. That's the worst punishments in history. Let me know what you boys thought, and it's pretty good.